everyone. My name is Knikki Hernandez, and today I want to talk to you about communication with parents, specifically as it relates to the generational differences. So, first, let's talk about why this is such an important topic and how it's relevant today for us as educators. The first thing is that especially as foreign language teachers, we understand that our language and our words, they have tremendous power. They have the power to influence the level of buy-in specifically from the parents and their support of our classes and programs. So choosing the right words and the right phrasing is of the utmost importance for our successes as educators. The next thing is that the purpose of crafting our messages differently depending on our audience, who we're talking to, baby boomers, Xers, millennials, is not to convey our own ambitions and our own desires and our own goals and our own way of doing things, but rather it's to show that their needs and the needs of their children are at the forefront of our minds. This is key. And as a result, when we learn how to do this and we practice it and we cultivate it and we get better at it, then what we're going to see happen is we're going to be able to connect and harmonize with our students and their parents on a genuine level. So now let's break down Xers and millennials. Xers are the parents that were born in 1965 all the way to 1980. And what this group of parents want specifically are specific details. They want a plan of action. How are you going to get from point A to point D to point Z? How are you going to do this? They want a roadmap. They also want to know about the projected outcome. So, for example, if you're a teacher and you're trying a new teaching methodology this year, and this methodology may not be something that the Xer parents are necessarily familiar with, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a clear plan of action, relate that plan of action, and then talk about specific details and maybe even show some specific examples of how this style of teaching relates back to this projected goal or outcome that their students are going to achieve. They ultimately want to know why you're doing what you're doing. They want to know the details. So, at the bottom of this slide, I've included some specific language that typically resonates with Gen Xer parents because it does provide specific details. It gives them the why and the purpose behind what you're doing. And it also gives them a plan of action and explains why you're doing it, but also how you will get there. But it doesn't do it in a broad stroke what kind of way where it's all fluff and no substance. It's not that. Gen Xers want real substance. So here's the language. Let's say you're talking to a Gen X parent. You can say this: the reason why I am doing XYZ in my class is because this helps to build the foundation for what's going to come later in XYZ. If the students don't understand what this means and how it connects to the bigger picture, then they won't be able to do XYZ later. So I'm trying to eliminate the frustration for when I present this information and they have to apply it later. This is language that resonates with Gen Xers because they have a clear vision of where you're going and what the goal is, what the end game is. The Xer parents always want to know what the end game is. So now let's go ahead and talk about the millennials because they have a very different philosophy. Millennials were born between 1981 and about 1995, 96, kind of just depending on who you ask. But the millennials, the key thing to remember about them is that they are idealistic people. They want to have influence over what you do. They are also big picture type people. They're more concerned about the final grade than they are about the specific details that lead to that point. Millennials also, and this is huge, millennials also want to be heard and they want to make suggestions. They want to be taken seriously and they want their recommendations to be taken seriously as well. They do not like to be dismissed, right? And so the key thing with them is remembering to always keep the door open. Now, on the suggestion piece with millennials, the great thing about kind of having an open dialogue with them is that you might be able to actually implement some of their suggestions. But even if that's not the case, even if what they say is not necessarily applicable to your situation, at the very least, you've provided an opportunity for open dialogue. And that's what they want. They want the door to be open so that they can voice their thoughts, their concerns, and their ideas and suggestions. That's what they care about the most. So, unlike with the Xers, where you're going to give a clear map in terms of where you're going with your classes, the way you can phrase it with millennials is you can say, hey, here's my thoughts on this particular teaching strategy or methodology. But before we roll this out, I want to get your input. And millennials will very much so appreciate that because they're going to know that you care about their concerns and what they want for their child. And you also have communicated that their child's best interest is at the forefront of your mind. So, by crafting our messages differently, we can help convey that message that we are ultimately here to serve, but that also help them to understand what we're doing, and it will help them appreciate and support what we're doing in the classroom on a level that is both harmonious and genuine. So, this is the importance of understanding the connection between the generations and their preferred method of communication styles, and specifically how they process information. There's obviously a lot more to dive into here, but we don't have time for that today. So, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.